Hi, my name is Devia Curry. This is about my life, about where God has brought me from to where I am now. I was born in Pittsburgh, Texas, in 1963, November 11, 1963. I was told that from the age of 6 weeks, my grandmother, which is my dad's mom, got me from my mom so she could finish school, because my mom was young when she had me. And so I went to go live with my grandmother, was what I was told. And my grandmother told me from the age of 2, my grandmother just died last year. She was like 110 when she died. And she told me that at a young age, at 2, that I was a leader. She told me that I had cousins older than me and I was leading them at the age of 2. They were like 4 and 5, and I was leading them and I was telling them what to do. And I said, "You mean I could talk at 2?" She said, you were advanced. But she said, "I knew you was gonna be somebody." She said, "I knew you was gonna be a leader." And at the age, so my grandmother had me from the age of 6 weeks, I want to say till I was up maybe about 4 years old. My mother came. My mother didn't see me from the age of, I was told she didn't see me from the age of 6 weeks till I was 4, and she had married and was living in Dallas, and I was at this time living in Kason, Texas, with my grandmother, my dad's mom. She came and got me, and she said she was for the weekend and she was going to bring me back. And I was told again that she wouldn't bring me back. She kept me, and my grandmother, she had filed in court to get me back and everything. And the court date for them to have court to see who was going to get custody of me, my grandmother missed the court date. My grandmother went to court the very next day, and when she got there, she said they told her the court was yesterday, and my mother got a chance to get me. So, and I was told that my grandmother almost lost her mind, that she wanted to die because she missed the court date. And when I was told all of this at a young age, and I had cousins that was younger than me, they grew up with my grandmother. They grew up and they had nice lives. One of them worked for Ross Perot. One of them, she was married to a police officer in Garland, had nice houses, nice jobs, but I was a dope addict. I was a dope fiend. I was a junkie. And I could remember at that time saying that if I would have been raised with my grandmother, I wouldn't have turned out like this, because they didn't turn out like this. They went to college. I was a dropout. Come on now. They had nice jobs, and I worked the streets, and my life was messed up. Because when I went to live with my mother, when she did not take me back, I was abused. I was molested by my stepfather. My mother would beat me, and she would put her foot on my neck and make me take off all my clothes, and she would put me in a closet. Some days wouldn't feed me. I grew up eating out the trash can at home. My stepfather would molest me, and he would come in the room after she would beat me and put me in the closet. He would come and get me out the closet when she would leave, and he would molest me. And then he got to the point where he told me, "Now you know if you tell your mom that she's gonna beat you." So I was afraid of her. I grew up in a house being afraid of my own mother. I grew up in a house wishing that he would, that when they would fight and stuff, that he would kill her. I grew up wishing that my life was different. I was a prisoner in my own home. And I think I got about 13 or 14 where my stepdad became, when I would look for him from the age of 5 till I was 17, I was molested. It went from molestation to having a lover in the house, okay? I know, and I remember times when I couldn't say this, but he became my boyfriend. He was my boyfriend in the house, where when he wouldn't come to my room at a certain, I think I was about 13, about 14, I would go to his room, because the abnormal had become normal. See, now I know that even with our drug addiction, the abnormal becomes normal. We can live on the street. That's not normal. So that had became normality. It was normal for us to be together. It was normal for us to be in the living room, my mom in the living room, and me and him looking at each other. You know, I've never said this to nobody, but he said he wants the whole thing out because it's going to help somebody. Because I'm going through this right now, and it's other people that's going through, because God revealed to me that everything that I've gone through, that is going to help somebody. So from the age of 5 till I was 17, I was molested to a relationship abuse, where my mom would put her foot on my neck and she would beat me, and I had dreams of, even when I was in school, I could play all kind of sports. I had dreams of going to the Olympics because I was real fast. I could run, and I went to the Junior Olympics. And so my goal was to go and be a track star and go to the Olympics. And I had and at the age of my senior year, from starting my 10th grade year, I was getting all kind of scholarship offers, SMU, all different offers. Not only was I fast, but I was pretty intelligent and smart in school. I made good grades. When I was 17, I'll never forget this. This is how I went to the street. You know, now take it that everybody thought that because my mom and them had money, that we were a nice family. On the outside, everything looked good. Amen. The cars, the clothes, all that. But nobody knew what was going on behind closed doors. Even the neighbors, they said that they thought we were well off, you know. As far as money is concerned, my mom and them had that, but, you know, we weren't a family. It was all kind of chaos, and today I know it was demonic influences in the house, you know. The abuse, the molestation, the fighting, and all this, and I was treated different than my other sisters. I was the oldest, and I was told that my mom treated me like that because my dad, you know, she wanted to be with my dad, and this is things that I just heard that my dad was a gigolo, and you know, all this. But I'm here to tell you about what all has happened in my life. And when I left home at the age of 17, when I left home, I was angry. I was so angry. I hated authority figure. And when I left home, I said, nobody never put their hands on me again. And I meant that. So I hit the streets, and I hit the streets hard. And I was an angry person. At the age of 17, my stepdad had left the house. It was a little boy that wanted to come and see me. So he was getting ready to go to the store. He said, let him in, and y'all sit on this couch and watch TV till I get back. And I said, okay. So he left, and my two sisters, they was at the recreation center. So we had burglar bars on the house. So they came back and they couldn't get in. So I'm looking for the key. We just sitting there watching TV. I'm looking for the key. And as I'm looking for the key, they beating on the door and they hollering, and I let them in. And by the time they said, I'm gonna call mama. You got this boy in this house. I'm gonna call mama. So they called my mom, and my mom came home from work. And when she came in, she came through the garage, through the kitchen, and she came in. The stitching cord was kept in this drawer in the kitchen. She pulled the stitching cord out, and she came and she told me, when she came in the living room where we sitting at, she said, get up and take off your clothes. So she wanted me to take off all my clothes in front of him, because that's the way she would whoop me. She wanted me to take off all my clothes and in front of him, and wet the stitching cord. And when she was wetting the stitching cord, I just took off running. I ran out the front door, and the garage door. When I ran out the garage door, she got in her car and she would chase me. Now I was fast. I had to gotta jump on her. Remember me tell you I was fast. So I'm running down the sidewalk and she coming, and so I jumped over this thing, and she couldn't. It was a thing where she couldn't drive through. So I'm running, and she get out the car, and I done jumped over these. I don't know who they were. I just jumped over their fence. And when I jumped over their fence, they asked me. I saw my side, and I said, she's trying to hurt me. I said, it's my mom. You know, I'm telling them, and they said, I said, can I use your phone? So at this time, I found out who my real dad was at the age of 16. I never knew who my real dad was at the age of 16, because my mom and my dad, they had a thing going on, even though she was married. You know, everything finna come out now. So she's with him, And so I meet my dad at the age of 16. And when I meet him, he gave me his number. He told me he was my real dad. My mom was still, she was back to seeing my real dad. And so I called him to come and get me. So he calls my mom, and my mom said, well, if you want to take her, you need to come get her clothes. So we go back to the house to get my clothes. But when we get there, she wouldn't let me leave. She would not let me leave. So she made him leave, and he left. And she goes somewhere, and then she come back at night. I'm in the bed and I'm sleeping, and I'll never forget this, that when she came in, she pulled the covers off of me. And when she pulled the covers off of me, she just began to beat me. She just began to beat me. I'm not crying, I'm not moving or nothing. My heart already got hard. I done got what's the word I'm trying to say? I done got used to beatings, and they don't hurt, you know. So I'm laying there, but what was going through my mind is that in the morning, I'm out of here. I'm leaving. When she goes to work, I'm leaving. So when she get through, I lay there. I didn't even go to sleep. I just couldn't wait for morning to come. So when she left and went to work, I packed my things and I called my auntie, which was her sister, to come and get me. See, in all these years, my aunties and them, they tried to rescue me. They tried to help me. They all knew what was going on, and I left this part. Even as a little girl in one of the houses, CPS came. I remember this, and she said, "If you tell them anything, I'm gonna beat you." And I remember CPS coming and they talking to me, and I told them I was okay. Nothing happened, and that was that. You know, but my auntie came and got me. When she came and got me, and I stayed with her for a few days, and then my dad came and got me. I lived with my dad. When I lived with my dad, I was going to school, and my mother would come up to the school and try to get me to come home. And I said, and I was sick of her coming to the school and messing with me. I said, and so I left Skyline High School and went to a school in North Dallas. I can't remember the name of the school, but in North Dallas. And she found out where I was, and I said, I fix her. I quit school. Now take it, this is my senior year. I got all these scholarships to go to college. This is my senior year, and I quit school. And when I quit school, I'm working at McDonald's. And I'm living with my dad, and and I never forget this. I can remember being in the bed with my dad, and I can remember being with my real dad, and he coming, laying there, and he getting close to me. And I'm thinking, here we go, this finna happen again, right? But it didn't, you know. But I knew after that night that I wasn't gonna sleep with him no more. I knew I wasn't gonna sleep with him no more. So, cause all I know is a man, this is what they do. So I go to work at McDonald's. I'm working at McDonald's, and I meet my children's father at McDonald's. I'm 17 and he's 25. I meet him, and I'm thinking, and my auntie telling me that, you know, I got to be in the house a certain time. See, I'm free now. I'm feeling like I can do what I want to do. I'm free, and she telling me, but he said I can come stay with him. Okay, so I leave their house and I go stay with him. I don't even know him, but I go stay with him. And on my 18th birthday, he introduced me to alcohol. He introduced me to marijuana on my 18th birthday. That was my first time. And I'm living with him, and he's a welder. He's working, and I'm at home, and I'm not knowing what to do with my life. I tried to go back to school. That's it. I tried to go back to school and get my diploma. I tried and I still felt like I had a chance in college and all that. I go back to school, and I'm acting up in school, so they put me in this school called I can't think of the name of the school where kids act up. So they put me in this school. I leave that school. I just quit. I quit that school. I dropped out. I'm not gonna do school. So after that, he started. It's a guy named Michael. It's come over, and he introduced us to freebasing. I never forget this, cooking up cocaine. He introduced us to this cocaine, and I'll never forget this. But before then, I was living with him and his brother, my children's father and his brother, and his mom. Their mom was paying the rent and everything, and they had to hide me. I wasn't supposed to be there. They had to hide me. I remember hiding in closets, hiding under bed, and all this. And these are grown people, and I'm grown. Why we gotta do this? I feel like I'm in jail again. Here I go again, you know. And when I got hooked, when he introduced us to the cocaine, it's like my husband could, at that time, he was my boyfriend, and then when she found out about, his mom found out about me being there, the only way that I could stay there was we get married. So I married him. We get married, and he introduced me to cocaine, and I smoked cocaine, and I got hooked. But he could smoke cocaine, he could function. But it was something about me when I hit that cocaine that I could not function. I could not do nothing. It was like I wanted more and more and more. Today I know it's because I was trying to numb everything that I had went through as a little girl, because all these feelings, because I would dream about this. I would dream about the abuse. I would dream about the molestation, and I didn't want to feel. I didn't want to go through that. But I didn't know at that time. All I knew is I wanted to get high. I just wanted to get high, and I wanted to stay high. I didn't want to do nothing but get high. So through all the years, I'm getting high, and then I get high, and I'm going to when my kids was taken away from me. I'm getting high, and one day I get high. I wanted to get high, and I leave my kids with a 14-year-old little boy. My son was 6 months. My daughter was a year and a half out. I had 2 kids by now. This is 1987. I leave to go get high. My husband at work. I'm thinking I'm coming back before he get back. It was 3 days later I get back. I get back 3 days later. They done moved out. I don't know where my kids is. I don't know where he's at or nothing. And I called him. And when I called him, he said he wasn't going to tell me where my children were. And I went to where he was working at. And he didn't want to have nothing to do with me. He said he was sick and tired of me with the drugs, because in between that time right there, I was always leaving my kids. I was always getting high. I couldn't take care of no kids. I wanted to get high. And when I hit the streets after that, when he told me, and I felt free. I didn't have no kids. I didn't have no husband. So guess what? I hit the streets, and when I hit the streets, the Jamaicans taught me. The Jamaicans taught me how to carry pistols. They taught me how to go and collect money, drug money. And if the people were short, he said, if the money wasn't there, I wasn't to kill them. I was supposed to shoot them in their leg or something and hurt them, you know. So that's where I learned the game from Jamaicans back in the 80s. Back in the 80s, they were in the city of Dallas, and it wasn't about killing them. It was about hurting them when they were short. So they taught me the game, and I was hooked on crack. And then I remember having one Jamaican I met. He was on drugs. They didn't know it and all that. And my life just began to spiral out of control, because I had so much drugs that it wasn't nothing to me to have drugs. And then I can remember going to my first trip to jail. Well, I got to go back now. My first trip to jail, I was pregnant with my daughter. This was 1985. I was on drugs, so that I began prostituting. I began going on the streets when my husband didn't know I was doing that. And I remember, and my first time in jail, I got in the car with an undercover, and I was pregnant. And when I got in the car with the undercover, he pulled his badge, and I urinate. I was scared, and I went to jail, and I was scared, and I had never been in jail, and I'm young, and this is 1985. I'm about 21 and 22 years old, and being in jail, and he came and got me out through their family lawyer. Then his mama found out, and it was just that I was nothing. I was nobody. Why you with her and all this? But even after that, 87, I had another baby, after I'm gonna go back to my kids being taken away from me. I'm on the streets and I'm doing things, and I go to jail. I think I get my first felony. I'm in a house, and they kicked the door in. The guy that I was with, he jumped out of the second floor window, and I'm about to jump, and the police grabbed me in my back and threw me on the floor. This is my first felony, and I'll never forget of them manhandling me and putting their foot on my neck and just doing all kind of things to me, because I was trying to fight. I was fighting them. So I go to jail, and I get out, and my first probation, I never did it. I get time. My first sentence was a 3-year sentence. I'll never forget this. And my first time doing time, this is where the homosexuality come in. My first time doing time, I'm in jail, and this girl, she was liking me, and I never thought that this would happen. But all my life, all my years in school, I grew up as a tomboy. Today I know that was that spirit that was on me. We call it tomboy, but that's really a homosexual spirit on people. When a woman act like a man and all that, that's a spirit. So she was liking me, and she was touching me and all this. So this is where the homosexuality came in, and this was back in 1988. This is when I first started dabbling in homosexuality, 1988. And after that, I'm going to prisons. I'm going to prison back to back. I'm getting out. But when I get out, I go back to the streets. And at the beginning, I was a prostitute, and as I got older and older and things progressed, I began to I don't know, I just knew how to get drugs and money and this and not have to prostitute no more, not have to sell my body. I don't know, it just came natural. The leadership that was in me. Today I know it was the leader that was in me. I knew how to get money. I knew how to get drugs, and I knew how to maintain. I knew how to do it. I had a gift where I could go to the drug dealer and say, hey, give me this, and I got you. Give me. I knew how, and they would give me ounces at a time and everything. So now I want to get to my first 3 trips to prison. My first three trips to prison. I get out one time, and I'm living with a guy. My 3rd trip. That's after my 3rd trip. I get out, and I really try my best. Not to get high. But in between that, with my kids and all this, I've been to like 10 different rehabs, AA, NA. I did all that. I tried my best, and even when my husband had a job, he had insurance. He put me in rehab. I did all this, but none of that worked. And after my 3rd trip to prison, I was running this motel. It was called the Colonial House Motel. But before I did the motel, I was living with a guy, and I was working. I actually had a real job. This was the first time I had a real job, because I was determined not to go back to prison. I was determined not to get back on drugs. And I remember not wanting to go get back, but I was in this jail cell. I was at Decker. One of the jail cells was at Decker. And I remember being in jail, and I remember this lady being in jail, and I knew she was different than we were. And she was always reading her Bible, and she would go into the day, whatever they call it, the day room, and I would be peeping around the corner and listening to her and hearing what she was saying. And she was ministering to these people, and I was looking. One day I was peeping around the corner, and she said, come in. I said, no, I'm okay. She said, no, come in. And she said, you don't know it, but I'm here for you. I said, how you here for me? She said, I'm a Christian, and I'm in jail about something that somebody else did. She said, I've never done drugs. I've never wrote hot check, but because of what somebody else did, she said, God allowed this, and I'm on assignment. This is what she said. She said, I'm on assignment. I said, what you mean you're on assignment? I didn't understand nothing she was saying. This lady began to prophesy to me, and she went to Full Gospel Holy Temple. I'll never forget this. She began to prophesy to me. She began to tell me what day I was going to get out of jail, that God was going to let me out, and that I wasn't going to get in time. She began telling me all this, and she was laying her hands on people, and they were getting filled with the Holy Ghost. She was doing all, at that time I didn't know it was. I said they were speaking funny. I always thought that was of the devil, because you don't know what they're saying. That's demonic, you know. But I didn't say demonic. I said that was of the devil. I said that wasn't right. She leaves. She get out of jail. And when she leave, the day that she told me I was going home, I didn't go home. I said, I knew she wasn't. She talking about I was going home. I knew she wasn't real. That stuff ain't real. 3 days later, the probation people came and got me. And he began to apologize. And he said, you were supposed to have been gone 3 days ago. Hey, he said, you were supposed to have been gone 3 days ago. You're not even supposed to be here. He said, it's my fault. The paperwork was delayed, and you were supposed to have been gone. He was really apologizing. But as he was apologizing, I was thinking about that lady. I was thinking about her, and I was thinking about what she said, and everything that she said, he came and said the same thing. She told me everything that he was going to say to me, and told me that I should, and he told me that I should have been gone. So I get out, and when I get out, I go live with these people, and when I go live with these people, I started wanting to get high, and I remembered her. And so I pull out her stuff, and I called, and I go to her church. I go to Full Gospel Holy Temple. It was on Ewan at this time. I'm sitting in there, and I got on my pants, and I got on my lipstick. Everybody in there. I got on my earrings. I got on all this stuff, and I'm the only one look like that. Ain't nobody else looking like me. And I'm in there, and they I didn't know what they was doing at that time, but today I know they was shouting and praising God. This one man took off running around me, and I'm looking. I said, "Ooh, they better catch him. What's wrong with him?" I don't know what was going on, but I knew I liked what I was feeling. I knew I liked. So I go back the next Sunday. Okay, and by the time the third Sunday come back, I've been working, and the person I was standing said, "You don't need to go to church today," and all this and stuff, so I had started back. Then I started smoking crack again. But in between that, I had went back to the church and told them I needed help. I said, "Can somebody help me? I don't want to do this. I don't." So they took me to this lady. I'll never forget. Her name was Ava Carter. I'll never forget this. Took me to her house and said that she can help me. She was an ex-heroin addict. She know about drug addiction. They told me she can help you. And I remember she told me I can come and stay with her. So by this time, I don't start sagging, and I'm doing all this stuff, and I got long braids and to the back, and I'm looking like a dude. And she tell me, she said, "Well, baby, you can come stay with me." But she didn't tell me this till I got there. And when I get there, she told me I couldn't wear my pants. I said, "What you mean I can't wear my pants? What am I gonna wear?" She said, "You're gonna put a skirt on." I said, "No, I'm not gonna put a skirt." She said, "Well, you can't stay here if you don't." I said, "Well, I just won't stay here." So I leave her, and guess where I go? I go straight to the streets. And when I get to the streets, all these ideas start coming to me about women, and me with the drugs and all this and all that, and this motel, and the people at the motel, they couldn't get the people out the motel, so they would come and get me and say, "Scorpio, he won't check out." So I get my pills, so I go there. And so they gave me the authority in the motel. I ran the motel. It was like it was my motel. If I would go to jail, they would burn me out. They would go, if I would fall asleep, they would go get all my jewelry, all my money, and all this, and they would keep everything. And I had women just about in every room. And when the tricks would come on, it started Thursday night, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Cars was lined up everywhere to come and see Scorpio and her women and date them. And I taught them, you don't get high with them. Let them get high. You got your own stuff. You don't have to get high with them.
You're watching JSE TV Productions. We bring your vision to life.